What if I told you that one of the most famous philosophers in history had a secret he didn't want anyone to know? A philosophy so dangerous that if you truly understood it, it would change your life forever. But it also could destroy you. This is a philosophy of letting go, of killing everything that gives you an attachment to life, destroying all hope, even your own soul. Welcome to the channel. Today we explore the shocking secret of Seneca and why he didn't want you to be happy. Now, as a huge fan of Seneca, this may come as a surprise. After all, who doesn't want to be happy? But here's the crazy thing. Seneca actually believed that most people would never be free, and he didn't want you to find out. Why? Because there's something extremely powerful about knowing you have no attachments to anything external, that you are completely alone. In this state, you are absolutely free to do whatever you want, because nothing can hurt you. Now, of course, this sounds simple, but it's not easy. That's why Seneca kept this secret hidden. Let's dive deeper into this by exploring the lie of modern Stoicism. Seneca was one of the most important figures in ancient Stoicism, yet most people don't know his name. That's because the current trend of Stoicism has become weak and watered down. It's become more of a feel-good movement than a philosophy for living. If you ask someone what Stoicism is, they might say it's about accepting what you can't control, having virtue and being calm in difficult situations. But this couldn't be further from what Seneca taught. For Seneca, Stoicism was about ruthless detachment. He wanted you to kill everything that brings you joy, because it also controls you. And here's where things get interesting. Seneca wasn't some poor beggar preaching to the masses. He was one of the richest men in ancient Rome, yet he taught people to reject money, pleasure, and fame. So what was the point of all this? According to Seneca, when you have no attachments to anything, when you are completely free of emotions, then you have absolute power over yourself. You are no longer a slave to the circumstances of life. But wait, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start at the beginning. To understand Seneca's philosophy, we must first debunk the myth that he didn't like money. The truth is, Seneca loved money. He just didn't want it to control him. He was a wealthy Roman senator and advisor to 4 emperors, including Nero. He used his wealth to build schools, theaters, and public works. He gave lavish parties and entertained friends with gladiatorial combats, wild animal hunts, and boat races. But perhaps most importantly, he invested his money to keep it working for him, even when he died. He understood the power of compound interest and the importance of diversifying his portfolio. In fact, there's a story about Seneca that illustrates his unique perspective on money. One day he was walking through the streets of Rome and saw a group of people gathered around a dead body. As he got closer, he noticed it was a money changer who had been attacked and was no longer alive. Instead of feeling sorry for the man, Seneca turned to his friend Lucilius and said, "Look at that. Even in death, he is still making money." Seneca believed that the pursuit of wealth was natural and even necessary, but it was important not to let it control you. He said, "Wealth does not bring true happiness, but lack of wealth does bring misery." So while Seneca enjoyed the finer things in life, he also knew their limitations. For him, the real secret to happiness was not in the accumulation of wealth, but in the right use of it. Now you might be wondering, okay, so what exactly did Seneca mean by letting go? What did he mean when he said to kill your hopes? And why did he teach Nero, the most cruel and evil emperor in history, how to be in control of his emotions? Well, to answer that question, we must first look at what Stoicism was really about. Stoicism was founded in Athens around 300 BC by Zeno of Citium, a merchant who survived a shipwreck and decided to change his life. He started a school in a marketplace, and soon it became the talk of the town. People from all walks of life came to listen to his teachings, which centered around living in accordance with nature and accepting what you cannot control. The Stoics believed that everything in the universe followed a rational order and that humans had a duty to live in harmony with it. They taught that the key to happiness was to focus on what you can control, such as your thoughts and actions, and to let go of what you cannot control, such as the weather or other people's opinions. However, it's important to note that this was easier said than done. In fact, Seneca believed that this was almost impossible without radical detachment. He called it premeditatio malorum, which literally means premeditation of evils, or anticipation of misfortune. According to Seneca, the best way to deal with the unexpected was to expect the worst. He thought that people suffered mostly from their own expectations and illusions. They clung to their hopes and dreams and refused to face reality. But by confronting the harsh truth, by thinking about all the ways you can fail, you can prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for whatever life throws at you. Seneca said, "He is a wise man who neither hopes nor fears, because hope as well as fear is a form of ignorance." So by facing your fears and detaching from your expectations, you become free from unnecessary suffering. Now let's get back to Seneca and his secret. Seneca was born in Córdoba, Spain in 4 BC, into a family of Roman citizens. He was brilliant and handsome, and won many rhetorical and literary prizes in his youth. He was also ambitious and eager to make a name for himself in Roman politics. However, he was also unlucky and experienced many setbacks and scandals that threatened to ruin his career, such as accusations of adultery and financial misconduct. That's why Seneca turned to philosophy for guidance and found solace in Stoicism. He studied the works of Zeno and other Stoics and applied their teachings to his own life. He learned to accept what he could not control and focus on what he could control. He also learned to cultivate virtue and wisdom and use them to serve others. He became one of the most influential Stoics in Rome and taught many prominent people, including the future Emperor Nero. Now you might be wondering, why did Seneca teach Nero, who went on to commit some of the most heinous crimes in history? Well, the answer is simple. Seneca saw Nero as a project, a chance to put his philosophy to the test. He believed that Nero was capable of greatness, but also of terrible destruction. So he decided to guide him, to shape him into a virtuous and powerful ruler. But he also prepared for the worst, for the possibility that Nero would turn against him or betray his trust. He wrote letters to his friend Lucilius, revealing his doubts and fears about his pupil. He said, "I am afraid that in him I have undertaken to cure a nature that cannot be cured." Unfortunately, Seneca's fears were confirmed when Nero turned insane and murdered his mother, Agrippina, and his wife, Poppaea. Seneca tried to dissuade him from these acts, but to no avail. He realized that he had failed and that he could not save Nero from himself. He said, "My heart is heavy within me. What a great flame I have seen extinguished." So what was Seneca's secret? Why didn't he want you to be happy? It's simple. Seneca believed that happiness was an illusion, a trap that led to suffering and misery. He said, "Happy he who makes others better." True fulfillment comes from serving others, from leaving a positive impact on the world. Seneca knew that by chasing happiness, you only end up causing yourself pain. That's why he preferred to teach people how to deal with life's ups and downs, how to face adversity with courage and dignity, how to overcome obstacles with wisdom and resilience. He wanted to show people that true strength lay not in avoiding pain, but in embracing it. But there's another reason why Seneca didn't want you to be happy. He feared that if people were too happy, they would become complacent, satisfied with their superficial pleasures and illusions. They would not seek deeper truths or higher goals. They would not strive for excellence or greatness. That's why Seneca challenged people to push themselves, to constantly improve and aspire to be better. He said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." He urged people not to fear change, but to embrace it as an opportunity for growth and transformation. He wanted them to realize that true freedom lay not in following the crowd, but in forging their own path. Now you might be wondering what happened to Seneca in the end. How did he die? Well, the answer is tragic. Nero eventually turned on Seneca too, accusing him of conspiring against him, and ordered him to take his own life. Seneca, who had been ill for some time, reportedly welcomed his death as a final challenge to overcome. He wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but rather he should fear not living a life that is worthy of death." So he took a potion that induced vomiting and diarrhea, allowing his condition to worsen until he finally died. And there you have it, the shocking secret of Seneca. Do you have the courage to live like Seneca? Are you willing to abandon everything that holds you back, that makes you vulnerable, that keeps you from being truly free? Or do you prefer the illusion of comfort and happiness? The choice is yours. But remember, if you choose to follow the path of Seneca, you must be prepared for anything. You must be ready to face your fears, to confront your demons, to endure any hardship. You must be willing to sacrifice everything for your art, your mission, your legacy. You must be willing to kill your hopes before they kill you.